But with that said, let's jump into that first reason why I think Wheat Ridge is unbeatable, and that's going to be its location. So as I said, with being on the western side of town, this is an area that so many people that move to Denver, maybe you don't first move to an area like Wheat Ridge, but a lot of people, what ends up happening is you move to Denver, you're really excited about living close to the mountains, but maybe you decide to live in a neighborhood or a part of Denver on the southeastern side, for example, Aurora, or maybe further up north of Denver in areas like Thornton, Northglenn, maybe even a little bit further to areas like Brighton and Erie. Well, the reason I want to bring all those areas up is because so many people move to those areas that are really diehard mountain people. They want to get to the mountains as much as possible. And after moving to those areas, they realize that, man, you're close, but it still is a little bit of a trek just to get to the foothills. And I'm talking about just, after work on a weeknight, or maybe just a quick, day trip on a Saturday. These are very possible regardless of where you live in Denver. But when you live on the western side of town in places like Wheat Ridge, what is so great is you just have so much out your back door that you can access in a matter of minutes instead of a matter of hours. So with Wheat Ridge's location, as you can see on a Google map here, it's to the west of downtown Denver, about 20 minutes on a good day, maybe even a little bit less depending on how fast you drive, but it also has so many great areas around it that have blown up in popularity over the last 10 to 15 years. I'm talking areas like Highlands, Sloan Lake, even parts of Sunnyside, parts of just downtown Denver, even on the western side, and Rhino, also known as River North. There's so many areas that are on that western side of town that have just gotten incredibly popular. And I think Wheat Ridge, one of the reasons why it's taking a bit longer to catch up to those in popularity is because it is just a little bit further to the west. What you notice is if you look at a map again and you see areas like Sloan Lake and West Highlands, they're right on the border of downtown Denver, on that western side of downtown Denver. Now, what makes those areas so special is its walkability. When you live in that part of town, you have the ability to walk to a lot of the best restaurants, bars, nightlife. There's a lot right there. And yes, with Wheat Ridge, you're not going to be within that walkability for those areas, but that's what really, I think, first made those areas like Sloan Lake and Highlands so popular. And the real estate prices have just gotten absurd in those areas because of the popularity. They finally kind of hit the ceiling where people just, I think, whether it be affordability or just weren't willing to pay that price point anymore, it started to expand. So after Highlands and Sloan Lake kind of maxed out, then it started creeping into areas like Sunnyside, also areas like Edgewater, which is just to the west of Sloan Lake. Well, just to the west of Edgewater is Wheat Ridge. And Wheat Ridge has some very unique things about it that I think in a lot of ways are better than areas like Sloan Lake and Edgewater and all those that we're talking about. So one of the reasons for this is, I think, because there's a little bit more land. So with Wheat Ridge, you're going to find homes that have a little bit larger lot sizes. They're also going to be primarily single-family homes, where a lot of the homes in the other popular areas like Sloan Lake and Sunnyside, you're going to have a lot more density, a lot more townhomes, apartments, fourplexes, all of that kind of stuff. And yes, you are going to see some of that still in Wheat Ridge, but not nearly to the level that you do on those other more urban neighborhoods. So I like that. I think with Wheat Ridge, you have this great balance where, again, you're even closer to the mountains. You can hop on I-70 within minutes, and you're really one of the only areas in all of Denver that have that close of proximity just to get straight up to the mountains. And, again, if you're not from Denver yet, but you are an aspiring, let's just say, a skier or snowboarder in the winter months, well, Saturday morning, let's say you're a weekend warrior, Saturday morning, you might have to get up at 5 a.m. just to hit I-70 and catch that kind of break in traffic before it really gets congested and busy and you're stuck in a parking lot on I-70 for 2 hours just to go take a couple runs at maybe one of the closer ski areas like Winter Park or maybe even Keystone or Arapahoe Basin. But when you're in Wheat Ridge, you just have that extra jump start on everybody else in Denver, and you might be able to save yourself, in a lot of cases, a couple hours of traffic issues just by having that jump start. So I know this isn't a reason maybe to choose where to live by itself. It's one of these little things that really make a huge difference in the long run. And I sure as heck am glad that when I lived in Wheat Ridge, I had this opportunity just to catch, no traffic and get up to the mountains before everybody else does. So back to the point of why I wanted to talk first about the location. It's not just its proximity to the mountains, it's also just its beauty. I love Wheat Ridge because you have a little bit closer view of the mountains. So just when you're hanging out at your house, maybe just driving around, maybe going for a walk with your dog or maybe a run, when you have that Wheat Ridge location, throughout pretty much any part of Wheat Ridge, you have awesome views of the western slope. And I just think it's a great spot for, again, for views and just location. And then one other reason why the location of Wheat Ridge is so great, and that's going to come down to, I teased at this a second ago, the lot sizes. More specifically, the large backyards that you can get in Wheat Ridge that are pretty hard to find in any of the other surrounding neighborhoods that still have that advantage of being on the western side of town. Yes, Arvada and yes, Lakewood, which are close to Wheat Ridge, do offer this as well, but I don't think at nearly the level that Wheat Ridge does, meaning that when you're searching for homes, you're gonna have a lot higher chance of finding these larger backyard homes in Wheat Ridge. And I actually just helped some really close family friends of mine sell their home in Wheat Ridge, and this was a great example of this because in Wheat Ridge, you're gonna find a lot of homes that still have either the original homeowners or just people that have been there for maybe 30, 40 years. And that's a good reason that probably it's a nice place to live because people aren't vacating or leaving Wheat Ridge. But also it's a great opportunity for people that are considering moving here because a lot of these people that are, now maybe in their 70s, they're starting to sell and potentially, moving into an assisted living or maybe looking just for a smaller downsizing of their home. And these are opportunities for us buyers to go in, buy those homes and put a little sweat equity and just fix up the homes to make them up to the more current, newer, styles and standards that people are looking for today. A lot of the homes in Wheat Ridge might be the 1940s, 1950s vintage, which are usually single family homes. Oftentimes it's either a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, or even oftentimes a 2-bedroom, 1-bath. But again, with that larger lot size, giving you opportunity to expand, whether it be maybe popping the top on the house to add an additional second level. That's really popular in Wheat Ridge. But also just recently, Denver passed a new change to the code or to what is allowed to be done in Wheat Ridge. Actually, all of Denver has some level of this now in play where you can put an ADU on your property. An ADU, or an accessory dwelling unit, this is really common in Wheat Ridge because of these larger lot sizes. You have the ability to add a second dwelling on your property, have it as a mother-in-law suite, maybe even an office that gives you a little bit more privacy from the kiddos when you're trying to work from home that day. Lots of different options, or even creating a whole separate rentable little, one bedroom studio, something that you could even tentatively rent out for a little extra income to help pay down that monthly mortgage payment. So lots of options in Wheat Ridge, and a lot of that becomes available to you because of its great location.